Welcome to the first or zero episode thing. So, in this episode, the or this part, more like a term, season, is what if Deku was blitzerwing? So, the in this one, I'm making my Deku, oh, much more broken, but he has manners. He has compassion. He has all the things. That's why every girl loves him for that. So, and he has two separate or three separate personalities. So let's get right into it. And before we start, the Blitzwing version is is pretty broken compared to the other Blitzwing from the TV shows, movies, or games. He's a pretty powerful person, and the power powerful entity, is basically the Prime, Optimus Prime. In this story, he's the most powerfulest one. Okay, so ready? So this is how it goes. Ready? Once upon a time, there was a kid, and his name is Deku, and when he was born with a soul quirk. No one likes the soul quirk because it allows the user to leave a body. So, and then, and when one day his mother, when he was 4 years old, took him to the doctors, and he, or the doctor said to Inko that, sorry, ma'am, your son is or does not have a quirk. And then Inko was shocked, and she took Deku and left, and then abandoned him on a side of the road later, and she never came back to pick him up. And then Deku was still shocked from the doctor's office, like a cannon, but there's a little changes, and he got so shocked his heart stopped beating, and so he died. And he was going to heaven, but a powerful entity was bringing him to the Allspark, and Deku fused with Allspark and powerful entity to become Blitzwing, and he got reincarnated as Blitzwing, and he was walking to a forest that's far away, and he stopped and see two pro heroes or two superheroes in trouble fighting against Muscular. Sorry, I'm itching my eye. And Deku stepped in and saved the pro heroes from their own doom, and Deku knocked a Muscular out, and he walked off before the pro heroes wanted to talk to him, and he turned into a jet and flew off at the sound of and he can't remember what happened, but he knew what his age is. He was 4, but then now he did time skip and he got to be 15 and he entered into UA and he is a very, very smart at he wrote huh? Out out the or he did a written part and he and then he went and took the robot testing and he says, wow, there's more robots like me. And he, or actually, instead of being happy, he was like, yeah, more robots for me to fight. And then he took out robots like nothing and he saved Ochako. So, from her doom thing. And, and well, I don't have a picture of her, so let's continue. And he was battling against a 0 point robot, and he actually did win and against the 0 point robot because he used his ice power to freeze it in place, and then he used his warping capabilities, or better yet, for DC teleport thing, is called Boom Tube. So Midoriya was, of course, he changes different faces. So he was calm when he was using his ice, and the crazy one, he had teleport quirk or teleport power and a shield quirk or power, and he was or when he saved Ochako, oh, he was so calm. he lifted up a boulder with just one hand and threw it in, and he was like, yay. And so let's do another time skip into like to USJ attack thing. So Mr. Aizawa, sorry, let me find or try. Let me just grab a picture of Mr. Aizawa, or like a made up picture that I drew him. So Mr. Aizawa told Deku to go to USJ and before the rest of the class. And Deku says, sure thing, as he transforms into a plane or jet. And this is not totally accurate one, but just roll with it, okay? So he flew all the way from USJ to I meant to say UA to USJ in about 5 seconds. And he met 13, the pro hero called 13. And they were talking, and his calm self notices there was a weird energy signature at the side of the bushes. So then he walks over to the bushes and picks up none other than the warp guy. I call him a warp guy. And he says, wow, a guy with a warping abilities, just like mine, but and he revealed who he was created from. Like he says, you're high in Nomu. You got created from Mr. Aizawa's his friends. And that was in the. And 13 was so shocked that he knew who he was. And 13 told Mr. Aizawa, and Mr. Aizawa got so shocked, he was like, okay, we'll be there. Or I'll be there to interrogate him. And before the warp guy tried a warp thing, Crazy Deku, this is Crazy Deku, supposed to be him, said, where are you going? And he put a shield around him, and it cancels, or he had a shield that cancels all quirks. everything. So he blocked him in that. And they. So Mr. Aizawa showed up and he took him to custody, the warp guy. Mr. Aizawa took him to custody, and the during during the after he was or before he was 4, say when he was 3 years old, he met Bakugo. But then but now he looked totally different. Bakugo was like, who is this boy? Or who is this man? And then he tries to remember. But when he when they walked in and a different portal opens, and Deku says, oh look, there's someone using a different portal over there, as he points to a villain that we're walking through. And he was like, huh. Mr. Aizawa and 13 were like, Mr. Aizawa, he tried to do what he did in the canon, but Deku already beats him to it. So he went craziness, and he puts a portal near around every villain. And when the Nomu try to attack him, he says, come on, big guy. Because he is in his angry face one. Or calm one, says, huh. Scanner shows that his weak point is his brain. That tells me that, and he just went behind and one hit, and super hard hit from his punch, and the Nomu just died right then and there. And that handyman was like, no fair, he cheated. And he went to calm form, and he says, how did I cheat? You villains have no rights to say I cheated. And the Mr. Aizawa told Deku to get away from them. And the crazy chest says, okay. Or crazy Deku says, okay. And he boom tubed or teleported out of there. here and popped right behind the entire class. Yes. And the Mr. Izawa saw Deku teleport away ability thing. He was so shocked. How shocked, you may ask? He was like, wow, you got teleport ability too? And he walks over to Mr. Izawa and he, or calm self, says, yes, I have a variety of powers. I have ones that could easily freeze people, put them in place, and all of it. And Mr. Izawa said to him, well, you're pretty good with a pro heroes gig, so. And plus, so handyman or work guy tried to do what he did to 13 in canon, but crazy is the deku, teleported 13 away into back to UA. He actually teleported the entire class, including Mr. Aizawa and 13, all the way back to UA, except for him. And he changed his face and he says, come on, you villains. I'll knock you all out with just one single punch. As he punched every single villain, and the handyman was so scared out of his mind, and he says, Kirigiri, it's time for us to leave. As a portal opens, teleports them in, or teleports both of them back to their base. And he says, run, cowards, I'll find you. And calm version says, I'll let the pro heroes deal with them. I already have their coordinates, like their warping abilities. That warp guy is like where he's going. So, Crazy One opens a portal and he walked right through, and before all my hate got to there, in canon, but he's like, what the heck? And he he went from this to his angry self and says, we weren't done with our little dance yet, so come on. And the All for One saw, or that heard him, him, and they, eh, or all for one says, let's make a proposition. As he says, huh, or he went from here, or went from angry to calm. He says, what would it be? And all for one says, well, if you're here to take my sensei, or my young master, or yeah, sensei, to jail, Lisa could let you go in to a little secret. And he says, well, you're awful one, am I right? The number one villain? I'm I'm just here for to take them into custody. Eh? And I'll deal with you later. So then he had handcuffs on him in the the pocket thing, and or two of them. They so he puts them on them, and they both like were knocked unconscious, and he teleports the both of them into custody, and they were like, where were you? We were getting worried. And they say, no need to worry. They're oh, I'm still here. And so he said that with a calm face, and All Might, or wanted to talk to him alone. So he walks into somewhere that's quiet, sorry, and he decided to, like, you have a most powerfulest quirk, and that, and Deku said, oh, thank you. You don't have a, or you do have a best quirk too. Is it one for all? If I'm reading it right, one for all is passed down quirk. It allows you to pass down quirk after quirk after quirk thing. And All Might says, how do you know that, Midoriya? He says, well, I know a lot of things. He, or I even know how you have that wound on your side. Thing. And plus, he had a, like, a healing thing, like rewind time thing, to All Might. So he reverted All Might's wound back to the way it was before All for One got that hit off. And he says, there you go. And he says, well, and, or actually, All Might said, thank you. And he says, well, and don't get mad at me, but I had a talk with One for All, or All for One. Sorry. And so then All Might was like, wait, what? You talked to All for One? And like he says, yes, he tried to make a deal with me, but I refused and turned it down, and because I know my limits. And plus, I'm crazy too. Or I'm crazy, so. And plus, there should be, or there was a lot of things going on. So, and Mr. Izawa says to Deku, or actually, when during that, like, who will be the team leader thing, and who wants to be like a class president thing, they all, after they saw what Midoriya was capable of, they voted for Midoriya, and without Midoriya even know it, it seemed he got voted. And so he became like, he was the like class president thing, or whatever that's called. But the creepy part was that, of course, all, or not All for One, but the Mr. Ozawa told him to train his quirk, but he said to Mr. Ozawa, I do not have a quirk. I have this machine body. And before we keep going on, I was gonna add this part to the when Deku died one. Like, when he got reincarnated back, his body was still in the on the side of a road, and the court doctor that told Inko that your son doesn't have a quirk, he was basically lying to her. And So he took Midoriya's body and turned it into a high-end Nomu to battle against the other, or against the pro heroes, and but he didn't know that the soul quirk thing combined with other quirks can become infinity, and plus Deku who's gains a whole nother personality thing. So basically Deku and his robot one, him, went to the same school. And so Mr. Aizawa says, wait, there's two Midoriyas? And the robot says, I'm a real Midoriya. And he says, I am the body of you, Midoriya. And both of them agreed. So then they both were, but to be honest, before you hit me in the comments hard thing, he they he have actually four the their jet mode, truck mode, robot mode, and the human mode. The him he's in his human mode, and so it goes like the and he can do like the same things, and everybody says, okay, is this your real body, Midoriya? And his body said, yes, I am his body, and I he I have a quirk called Soul Quirk. It allows me to leave my body, leave this body, and go into another body. And his voice was so soothing. Everybody, Eddie, in the entire, or every girl, knew that or everyone knew that he was a body of Deku, but hold on, but all the girls wanted to date Deku, and Bakugo knew who he was. So, and when he looked between the teenager, like the 15-year-old kid, and a robot form of him, seeing that face, he knew that it was the same person. So Deku and or both Dekus and Bakugo were, of course, they were training their quirks before a sports festival thing, and he said in his calm form, he says, "Well, I need to transform into a small human," so he transformed into this, and he starts training like nonstop, huh? With his body, honey, and all, and then that skipped 4 years, and sports festival, oh, and the that brainwashing guy or like mind controlled guy was battling against him, but but he didn't know that he was gonna get like battled against two Dekus. So when he, or before I get ahead of myself, during that race thing, both Dekus were powerful, and they both got first place. And in the chariot, they got first place, and the so in the battle one, Deku won, and then all the way to the Peppermint Boy, Todoroki, and so him and Deku, both of them, had fire immunity and ice immunity, so they both knocked Todoroki, Peppermint Boy, right out of the ring. And then they both went on to Bakugo's fight, and Bakugo and Deku was really, really best friends in this what if. And they both cared about each other. And then Deku, and Bakugo, or Deku beats Bakugo, and Deku, was first place. Bakugo was in second, and Todoroki was in third. And then the 13 chose, or Pro Hero 13 chose him, and the Deku, or almost, or MT Lady actually wanted him, or not MT Lady, Midnight wanted him, and everybody chose like their own, and the, 'cause, 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 ' 13 says, "What's wrong?" The calm Deku says, "I'm picking up some sword slashers things. You want me to bring him over?" 13 says, "Yeah." And, sorry, and he turns into crazy Deku and warps her Hero Killer Stain to him and ends up knocking Stain out by just one punch, and then or they both, or he transforms into jet mode, and he got, or Dorm's already in. So, and Principal Nezu says to the Deku, "Go ahead and let both of ya sleep in the same bedroom because you're technically are the same person." And he agreed, and they so he or they went to sleep. See? And next morning, the like Ochako, oh, and Deku, or Ochako told Deku that, "Thank you for saving my life," thing. And then all of that, and the Mr. Aizawa told Deku's to go to this location thing, and he transforms into a jet and lets Deku on, and both of them start flying, and you could see where Deku would be, or at the where that Decepticon label thing is. And when they arrive, Deku notices the two pro heroes that he saved from Musclear was Koda's parents. So both of them greeted him, and they knew who he was, and they started a chat. And Koda was so happy and all that other stuff. So, and then during the camp arc thing, Deku, in his calm form, says, "Well, there's a lot of people, and they all just do their things, and like in canon, but Deku, his robot mode thing, did so a lot more training than any of them." And he got enraged. He punches a mountain. 52 mountains were shattered, and all of them were so shocked. And then but during that brave thing, the calm Deku says, better stick inside. He said that to, I forget her name, the one that has like one giant eye, like what Deku has, one giant outside line, but with different color. And alright, and she said, why? Or he says, looks like there's villains that are trying to kidnap you. And Bakugo and those people and Muscular at that time, he got put in prison, and Moonfish was in prison, and so in Hero Killer Stain, in this would have didn't join, or like he did join, but not as much as like he joined in to go a couple rounds thing, and he and during that like mall arc thing, instead of having Deku's neck thing, he just went to a gas station, bought some of those like big container things, and starts after and to pack them up, and some rust remover and all that stuff, and they were so prepped, and they were so he goes, and of course Dobby sets a woods on fire, but or actually scratch that, Dobby, he got kidnapped, or basically all the villains got kidnapped, put into holes, and by him saying, "Peekaboo, I see you," and they said, "How do you know that? How did you know we're here?" And then Combs says, "Well, the already my scanners could pick up anything from the entire world, so we knew that you were getting close, so that's why we set a trap. Yeah, and you fell right into it. Now it's time for the rest of your pie." And Himigo Toga saw that version of Deku, and she fell in love with him, and but she was in a ball shield thing. She couldn't stab her way out, and they so then Toga was like when like twice, and Spitter saw them or saw him, and they're like, "Wow, this guy is a chosen one thing." And then they didn't come back. So then, so they, so Deku in his robot mode says, "Stay here, Deku body," and he just teleports away, and his angry says, "Come on out, let's fight like men," and All For One says, "As you wish," and both of them went. Or he went toe to toe with the number one villain and still won. Or he won, and he took or put a ball around him and says, "All right, all done." And he teleports back before even a media or in a newscast before they showed up. And he like, and then they, so he's like, okay, and they don't know who did it, or actually they went into his buff down form, and he says, or his normal human form thing, and said, "I am here. I am Midoriya. Zuko Midoriya." And the news, was filming it, and Inko decided to watch it, and she like had a heart attack, or not a heart attack, but she was so shocked because her son was on TV, and she was so proud of him, and she says, "I should have just kept him." And but other than, and she always had the pictures of Deku when he's small. Well, and then, but Inko, after that, Inko went to UA and to ask for her son thing, or for Midoriya. And Nezu says, "Well, which, or are you the mother of Deku?" Or, yeah. Inko says, "Yeah, I am." And she, or Nezu says, "Okay." And so Deku, or both Deku